Every part of the hammer matters. The haft just as much as the head or the microgenerators or the regulator couplings. All must be wrought. All must be perfectly balanced. Any weaknesses, however small, and it won't strike true. So it is too with the kin host. Hello everybody, Andy from Glass Half Dead here, and wasn't that an amazing introduction that I haven't recorded yet, so I don't know what it was. I was just about to spray something, that's why that's there. Anyway, this is a Hearthkyn Salvager review from Gallowfall. Isn't this going to be fun? To be clear, this is a review of the team, not a team guide. I'm going to be giving you a general overview, but I'm not going to be going into every single data sheet and tactic that you can possibly do with the team. Okay? This is an overview so that you know before you've bought the team how the team's going to play, their general vibe, and if you want to do some conversions, base sizes, team members, that sort of thing. With that said, let's dive straight into it. These are my overall thoughts. Ultimately, this is going to be a 2-box team, okay? This is a standard kind of kill team speciality that we have here. It's the kind of team where you get an upgrade sprue and you want to build every single specialist operator. However, for example, when it comes to gunners, we've never had such an egregious team when it comes to this. This is the official, you have 5 gunner options. Now, one of them is a specialist. The high las cannon is from the specialist sprue only, so you cannot build that without getting the upgrade sprue, the kill team specific one. But everything else, all the marksman rifle, all that stuff, is can be built from the standard box. So actually, it is a 2-box team just because there are so many options, but you could magnetize it. If you're willing to magnetize, it's a 1-box team. I personally don't much care for magnetization because I'm lazy. They are on 28mm bases, standard Hearthkyn warriors there, makes sense. And it is a 10 model team. So you're taking 10 operatives onto the board, standard, 1 leader, bunch of dudes. It is primarily a ranged team. There's really only kind of 3 melees. Everything else is ranged. Everything else you really don't want to be anywhere near the enemy. And one of those is your leader, who could be built as a ranged dude. And he's not great in melee, but he counts as a melee for this team. That said, they're hitting on 4s. Man. And they're 7 wounds. Man. Ooh, yeah. This is an interesting team. I'll let you know how it works roughly. They are a toolbox team in the sense that every datasheet has a lot that it does. And if you can combo everything together, I imagine they're going to be quite strong. And if their ability works the way it might work, then they'll be strong. And if they're not, then your raw stats aren't very good. Your 10 models at 7 wounds hitting on 4s. That's pre-buff Kasrkin. I'm just going to say it. That's pre-buff Kasrkin levels, okay? And you're mainly ranged, just like the Kasrkin are. Okay. A lot of moving parts. Anyway, let's have a quick look at the team. This is what my team looks like from a model's perspective. You might notice that when I made this team, I had a little bit of a thing for turning everything into Tyranids. Same with my Felgor. Yeah, okay. And the next slide, in case you are a subscriber to my channel, is indeed for subscribers only, and it is a big double hello. Wow, so wholesome. What is a double hello? It's a pleasantry that's given to you twice, and really, aren't pleasantries pleasant? It's almost in the name. Hey, I have another channel called Full Scale Wargaming. Go check that out. In fact, if you, right now, as this is released, if you want to see these 2 teams, the Hearthkyn Salvagers and the Felgor Ravagers, play against each other, there is a high quality, highly edited battle report on Full Scale Wargaming between me and Ryan from Turning Point Tactics, a pro player. So go and check that out. It's going to be super hype. It's not coming to Glass Half Dead, or maybe it is. I haven't really decided, but it is on Full Scale Wargaming. Okay, with that said, I also have a Discord, and if you really like what I'm doing here, if you're really a fan of Kill Team, check out my Patreon. That's what really allows me to do all of this as much as I do. Okay, let's dive into it. Take all comers list. What are we getting? What's up? So, you know, if you don't want to magnetize, if you just want to build 10 models like I did and say, let's go for it, what do you build? Leader. I would say Plasma Sword and Bolter. I think that's the way to go. But, yeah, okay, that's what I've said. Plasma Sword and Bolter. Your leader, as we will look at later, comes with 9 weapons, 3 ranged, 6 melee. No, sorry. 3 melee, 6 ranged, and there's no combination that's invalid there. You could pick anything. There isn't necessarily a worst option. So I suspect in reality what that's going to break down to is which team are you going against and what are their wound thresholds, and do you want your leader to be someone that can go in melee and kind of support the team in a way or that they are not otherwise good at, or do you want him to kind of support the team in a sense of lean into ranged and forget melee? That's what you have to consider with him. I would say Plasma Sword and Bolter. There you go. You then want to take a Dozer. Why do you take a Dozer? Because he's kind of your melee dude. Okay? He's pretty good in melee. Take him. Grenadier. Amazing Grenadier. He's got some really strong, really good, like, specialist grenade. Take him. 3 Gunners. Now, these are of interest. I would say the Plasma Beamer, the Rotary Cannon, and the Missile Launcher. The Missile Launcher can flex for you. You can go AP or you can go Blast. Great. Rotary Cannon. This allows you to ignore obscurity. Take that. Plasma Beamer. This gives you access to mortal wounds, which are always pretty fun, in a weird, cool kind of beam weapon way. Very nice. I think that's the way to go. You might be wondering why not the big, you know, rail rifle thing. It's heavy, so probably don't take it. There you go. Jump pack. Of course you're taking the jump pack guy. He's the only guy that can move more than 2 circle. Oh, I didn't mention that in the overview, did I? Yes, they are an entirely 2 circle move team. Lovely. Kinlink, he's your comms. Lugger, he does interesting things, which we'll talk about later. Cognitar, he also does things. Operatives. So this is a 10 operative team, obviously as mentioned. The Thane can go melee or range. 6 range, 3 melee. It's kind of, again, as I said, it's up to you. Then you have options. And they're between the Medic, the Kinlink, the Cognitar, the Locator, and the Lugger. Now, if you are buying 2 teams, keep in mind the Medic, the Kinlink, and the Locator are all default builds. If you have Hearthkyn warriors, you've probably already built them. The only exception is the Medic. Now, the Medic is denoted simply with a backpack. And if you built him in for 40k, you probably ended up giving him just a bolt gun or whatever. However, very specifically in Kill Team, he comes with a pistol and a knife. So he can be built from the default team. With the default sprues, you don't need the upgrade sprue. But he does have a specific loadout with no options available in this. So keep that in mind. Whereas the Cognitar, the Lugger... Yeah, the Cognitar and the Lugger are specifically from the upgrade sprue. Bolters or Ion Blasters. So, 4 attacks hitting on 4s, 3/4. So it's a Bolter. Bolters get Ceaseless. Ion Blasters get P1. There you go. Do you want Ceaseless or P1? Honestly, when you're hitting on 4s, I would say Ceaseless. However, if you are playing the team at absolute, optimized, pro play level, you will be better off with P1, as there are other ways that you can get rerolls in the team. And of course, you can never reroll a reroll, so therefore Ceaseless would be wasted. That's actually done primarily through the Cognitar? No. Yes, the Cognitar. He can put down an attack token, lets you get a reroll for everyone that shoots when you're within, that range of a token. So, tough one. I ultimately, for my builds, have gone with Ceaseless, because rerolling 1s on 4s is pretty useful. Gives you that chance to push through a little bit more damage. P1 is great, but that's it's whatever. Right. What is their ability? Well, it's the grudge token. Now, when it comes to grudge tokens, if you collect 40k and you bought their codex, then you have, I believe, grudge tokens in their codex. So consider that. That's a great, certainly in my battle report that I recorded on Full Scale Wargaming, that's how I denoted grudge tokens. Whenever an enemy kills one of your guys, they gain a grudge token. For every grudge token on the model, one normal hit becomes a crit. Now you can immediately see how that works. They're hitting on 4s. You're not guaranteed to really get many, like, grudge tokens through. Yeah. So that's why you need those rerolls to make sure you actually just get a normal hit. And you almost don't, you're not trying to fish for crits, you're trying to fish for normals, which is crazy. And then hope that you're shooting something with a grudge token and they take a crit. We'll go into other ways to get grudge tokens soon, but it's not easy. So this team, oddly, does get better as it dies more, which is interesting. And it kind of leads to an anti-snowball effect. So you'll probably start off quite weak and get better, whereas most teams probably start off at their strongest and then get worse. So you're playing for the late game here. Steady advance. You can never have your movement characteristic modified. Do note, for example, for some things like Hierotex Circle that simply affects how far you move as opposed to your movement characteristic, you're going to be slow. We then get to their TAC Ops. Now, when I first started reading through these TAC Ops, I was like, oh, sorry, your security and recall. I was thinking, you know what? Just use the default crit ops. You never need to use your TAC Ops anymore, your faction TAC Ops, right? You'd only be doing that for some crazy, like, narrative game. These TAC Ops aren't always bad. In fact, I think some of them aren't terrible at all, except for Rigside, which is terrible. So, settle grudges, kill 2 enemies with a grudge token for 1 VP, kill a 3rd for a 2nd VP. You probably should be doing this. Like, yeah, as soon as an enemy kills you, they get a grudge token. And that means you are more likely to kill that enemy. So you want to focus fire to bring them down. And it's like, yeah, actually, if you aren't scoring settled grudges, then either this team doesn't play like we feel it should play, or, like, you've lost anyway. Excavate, it's a 2 AP action on an objective. That sucks. End of game, control excavate token for 1 VP, pick up for 2 VP. There is a way to, with equipment, to make this 1 AP on an objective. This isn't terrible either, actually. Obviously, nobody particularly wants to spend an AP to perform a mission action, but actually, you're going to be on the objectives anyway. So yeah, go for it. I'm not even going to read Rigsite. I've summed it up for you there. Don't pick Rigsite. And then get Strat Ploys. So this is where the team can really defines what it is, right? So, need keeps. Weird name, but fine. Select an objective. Treat all friendlies as +1 APL for holding that objective. Cool. You are obviously a 2 APL team, so this is good to know, I guess. It means that suddenly you can challenge Marines with a single dude, which is pretty good, actually. This is something you're probably mainly going to be using against very specific teams, and not always. Toil Earns. Select an objective, all enemies within 3 inches, +1 grudge token. Okay, now we're starting to see where grudge tokens might come into effect. Ultimately, models have to be on objectives. These are pretty good. Within 3 inches means that it's +1 inch from a normal objective marker, which is going to be 2 inches from a point. This is 3 inches from a point. This is pretty good. Yeah, like this is going to let you really focus down on an objective. I like it. Wrought defense. If you retain any crit saves, a fail can become a normal. That's not bad at all, actually. It does rely on you rolling a 6, though, with only 3 dice, which is bad. However, the actual ability of it, a fail becomes a normal, is really good, but can you roll a crit? Approximate firepower. When you're within 6 inches, +1 ballistic skill. Now, I don't know what that means. Within 6 inches of what? Oh, the enemy. So yeah, if you're within 6 inches of the person you are shooting, you're hitting on 3s instead of 4s, which seems pretty good. And then if you mix Proximate Power with Toil Earns, suddenly you're getting everything with grudge tokens, and you're hitting on 3s instead of 4s, and you're practically guaranteed at least 1 crit. You start to become a pretty tough team. When they go to Tac Ploys, the Ancestors are watching. If you're not injured, you can perform a free shoot or fight action. Cool. I mean, that's pretty good, okay? And again, that is a great little force multiplier on top of Toil Earns' approximate firepower. Shoot again. Nice. Worth it. When you're killed, immediately perform a free mission action. Interesting. I'm not quite sure when this is going to come into play, but I think it could be really tricksy in certain situations, so I quite like that. Hardy, change all crits to hits when defending a shooting attack, which is, yeah, cool, fine. This is, you change the enemy's crits to hits, just to clarify. And then Rampart, so this is something that you play in the scouting step, and after you've resolved it, you can, a scouting step, you pick one of the 3. You can either fortify, which is place down an additional barricade, can be on terrain, but you can only do it once, so you can't do fortify as your scouting option and then fortify again in this. Terrain within 3 inches of your drop zone can become heavy, or 1 barricade can become heavy, or one of your barricades can become heavy. I like this. I think you're always playing this. There you go. Sorry, on open board you're always playing this. On Into the Dark you're not playing this. There you go. And we get our first actual datasheet. I did want you to be able to see a datasheet so that you can see what it looks like. And this is the Hearthkyn Thane. What a beast. Look at all of those options. So, yeah. As you can see, you have, for example, the top 2 lines there. The Autok Pattern Bolt Pistol versus the Autok Pattern Bolter. They're both 4 attacks hitting on 3s. 3s because you're the leader, so it's +1. 3-4, 3-4, ceaseless, range 6. Cool. Nice. Why would you ever pick the bolt pistol? You wouldn't, ever. However, you might pick the bolt revolver because it's 3-5. Then you have the plasma pistol, obviously the best one because it's AP1, 3-5, but it's hitting on 4s. Yeah. And then you have the ion blaster versus the ion pistol, P1. So here's the general rule. When it comes to the bolter versus the bolt pistol, and the ion blaster versus the ion pistol, you never pick the pistol version. You always take the long range version because they're the same. And really, there's only 3 options despite there being 6. Why? Because we have to fit into 40k. We all know this. And then concussion gauntlet, plasma axe, plasma sword. I would say in general, again, you can see the stats right there. The reality of this is it depends on the wound thresholds of the enemies that you're playing against. So there is a valid reason for all of this. However, normally you're just going to take the plasma sword. That's the best option. And then we have the Eye of the Ancestors. I kept this in here partly because this is arguably the most complicated datasheet. So because just the number of weapon options here, but also we get to see 2 move, 2 APL, blah, blah, blah. Each time this operative is activated, you can select 1 enemy operative visible to it to gain a grudge token. Notice it's only visible, not line of sight. So this guy's just throwing out a grudge token every turn. That's his primary goal, I would say. And then if you're adding this alongside the need keep, not the need keeps, whatever it is, the Toil Earns, where everyone within 6 in an objective, you can start to get the grudge tokens down. But ultimately, it is going to be when your guy dies, they get a grudge token. So you get stronger as you die. We then get the jump pack guy. Again, yes, I went a little bit far on the Gene C the Colts thing there. Ignore that. Move on, it's fine. I didn't like his silly helmet. That's the only thing. I don't like their jump helmets. So, yeah. So I turned him into a Gene Sealer as punishment. I just want you to be able to see this. So this is the only guy that has more than a 2-inch move, and he's got some interesting stuff. He obviously has fly. He's critical. I would never leave home without this guy because of his additional movement. But if you just look at his stand stuff, he's not that good. Like, he's not, like, amazing in melee. And fine, I guess. Yeah. But I do want to point out boost. I'm going to read that for you. Perform a normal move action with this operative with the following additional rules. It can move up to 2 red. That's a 12-inch move. That's our biggest move in the game. Crazy, right? And it can only move a straight line and in one direction. So I really like that. So obviously you've got fly. So you're making that full move. And it's almost a redeploy. Like, that's how far a 12-inch move is in this game. So that's really cool. You can also set up a climbing rig. This is going to help the rest of your guys move for the rest of the game, which is going to matter. But again, not an Into the Dark. This team really is a team that is going to both struggle in open because suddenly verticality matters and they're not good at it, but also a lot of their abilities and equipment is designed to help you in open. So it's good to know. Boom. Now we have the Hearthkyn Lugger, because this is just such an interesting ability for re-equip that we've never seen before. So, also we get to see the Autarch Pattern Bolter versus the Ion Blaster. This is something that all of the Votann can pick. Ceaseless versus P1, otherwise it's the same. I wanted to let you all know that. Right. So, firstly, you get 5 additional points of equipment for the battle. So I think you're always taking the Lugger just for that. And then, also he gets a pickup or mission action for -1 AP, which is really, really useful on this team, which is all 2 AP guys. But the re-equip, I'm just going to summarize it for you super quick. He can change somebody's loadout. There you go. Which mainly is going to be used on the Thane, and I'm just off the top of my head, I'm not quite sure if it works for gunners. I think it does. But for example, you won't be able to re-equip a gunner so that you have all 3 gunners running in with the plasma blaster, plasma beamer, because it wouldn't be a legal loadout because one of them is already on the board. And it specifically says in the operatives, you cannot take more than 1 of each. But once one of them dies, technically it's not on the board and you're no longer equipped with it. So I assume you could swap it then. I don't know. But I don't know when you're really using the re-equip. It's a waste of an action, and it's kind of like, oh, hey, you just came in with the wrong thing. So, whoops. You should have just come in with a different loadout. It's a cool idea, but I don't think it's actually going to see much use on the board. But you're still taking this guy because he's a regular operative that gives you additional equipment points, which you're probably going to be using. Oh, and you get the free mission action. We then go to the options. So this is kind of the rest of the team that I think you're taking 3 gunners, you're taking the Lugger, you're taking the jump pack, you're taking the Grenadier, blah, blah, blah. And then you have 4 guys and they all do slightly different things. Which one do you take? So the medic is a standard medic. Medics can be useful. Medics can be super useful. You set this guy up next to a gunner. The gunner goes out, gets the shot, gets killed, comes back to life, hides, and you just keep popping him. Right, so that's good. You get the Kinlink. He's a standard comms, right? So you get +1 APL somewhere. But also, an enemy operative in line of sight has to be the last model to activate. What? Now, how often are you going to use that if it costs you an AP? I can't remember if it does, but that sounds like a thing it would. Don't know, but that could be super useful. Being able to... it's very common in Kill Team where you push a model up and you're kind of banking on being able to make that threat next turn. But if this guy just pops out and goes, oh, nope, not till the last activation, suddenly your opponent has to change how they play. You then get the Cognitar, who is the guy that's shown up here. Your little cyborg dude. Attack token. You can reroll 1 attack token. So I mentioned the attack tokens before. He can put down an attack token. As a strategic ploy, to be clear, he can put down an attack token or a defense token instead of playing a strategic ploy. And then if that token is in the board, he can use an APL to redeploy it, essentially. But the attack token, you can reroll an attack dice if you're within, I'm going to say 3 of it. And defend token, you can reroll a defense dice if you're within 3 of it. It might be 2 though, but who knows. And you can get Locator. So he gets a pre-game ability of enemy operatives can't be outside of the drop zone when they deploy. You still get certain forward deploys. So if it happens after a certain point, they can still do it. I think, like, for example, the Phobos will be able to do it. And once the game starts, so like Into the Breach for Vet Guard, they'll still be able to do that. But I think it stops Recon Dash, which is useful, and anything else. So I assume it would also therefore shut down, possibly, I'd have to read it, forward deploys from like Hunter Clade, Commandos, etc., which is super useful. Yeah, so they can't move due to Recon. 1 AP, no cover within 6 inches of token. I don't even know what that means. Great. Good that I wrote that down. That's a thing he can do, but I wrote it in such a shorthand, I don't know what it means. Yeah. Then there's their equipment, a gravitic concussion grenade, but that's on your Grenadier. That's just a thing he has. You're always taking the Grenadier 100%. You're never not taking him. So you don't have to worry about that existing. That's just the stat line for it. Plasma knives. You're only 3 attacks. Probably don't take it, if I'm honest. Yeah, I don't know when you're using that. It's good that it's there, but until that sees a buff to 4 attacks, probably not using it. We don't get climbing equipment. It's just it's the same climbing equipment every other team has. It's 1 EP. Cool. Your leader can take a Weave Field Crest for 3 EP. Models within 3 inches get a 4 EP involved. That's pretty nice against certain teams. Excavation Tool. It's going to cost you 2 EP. You can only take 3 of them max for the team. You can place a token on traversable terrain, and then when you move within 1 inch of that token, you traverse it for free. This is a real interesting one because in general, so you can play it on one of your own barricades, for example. So you set down your barricades and then you set down models with excavation tools and you say, right, I can move through these barricades for essentially free, which when you're such a limited range team is pretty good. But yeah, I think these will be taken. Yeah. And then Auto Calibrator, 1 EP, you ignore modifiers to ballistic skill. This is obviously going to be super good when you're injured, and you will get injured very quickly. And also you won't take a negative on Overwatch, but you're a 10 model team, so that's a little bit chancy. Ooh, okay, and that's the team. And we get to the massive triple hello. Wow, so wholesome. Guys, hey, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. Please go and check out my battle report on Full Scale Wargaming, which I'm wearing the logo of there. Isn't that amazing? And then also consider checking out my Gallowfall review, which will be an overview of both teams, which is also on Glass Half Dead. And then, of course, my Hearthkyn Salvager review overview, which will also be on Glass Half Dead. That'd be awesome. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you really like what you're seeing here, consider my Patreon. Oh, and hey, if you're going to go and buy some Warhammer and you're in the UK, consider checking out my affiliate link for Element Games. I don't really understand the economy, but I get money and it doesn't cost you anything extra, so that'd be cool. Alright, well, thank you very much for watching, everybody. Stay safe and have fun, and stay hydrated. My gosh.